In 1995, Hideaki Anno released Neon Genesis Evangelion. What can I even say about this show that has not been said already? With its sophisticated themes and ideas, Evangelion has been interpreted and discussed countless times already. As a result, Anno has become one of the medium's most respected authors, one of the few directors that transcends their show to become a star in their own right. However, with his next project revealed to be a remake of the classic tokusatsu show Kamen Rider, I thought it would be interesting to take a look at the various live-action films made by Hideaki Anno himself, so we can gain a greater understanding of this incredible filmmaker. Hi, my name's Rob and welcome to my channel where we discuss the wonders of East Asian cinema. Today, the live-action films of Hideaki Anno. One of the first live-action films Anno makes is The Return of Ultraman in 1983, a fan-made film that predates much of his anime work. It's a love letter to Ultraman and the tokusatsu genre, and it's poetic to know that Anno would go on to make his own Godzilla film and is currently working on the new Kamen Rider film. What the early short reveals, however, is that Anno was clearly talented from a young age. To achieve such a high quality, even with such a low budget, reveals the eye for detail Anno possessed. He was able to dissect the formal language of a tokusatsu production to replicate the style perfectly. The kaiju feel large and heavy, their movement carries weight and power, which is the key to making these types of films believable. And this is something he would replicate in Evangelion. There the mechs feel weighty even when animated, which is why the scenes feel so powerful and impactful. Here you see the early fascination with giant creatures and destructive capabilities, but what you also see is his childlike wonder, something that would never leave him in my opinion. In the opening piece we see a young girl looking up to the stars. In a Japanese television feature where they interview some old schoolmates of Anno, they mention how he himself would often just gaze at the stars as a child, and in many ways this childish amazement seems to permeate throughout his filmography, whether it's celebrated or questioned and reflected upon or mourned for being lost. He always returns to it as a theme in my opinion. And The Return of Ultraman seems to capture that moment perfectly, setting the tone to his filmography. His next live-action film would be Love and Pop in 1998. Now we're dealing with a different Anno, however. The fresh filmmaker from The Return of Ultraman was now a giant of anime. He had yet to really prove himself as a live-action director though. He was not the first anime director to shift between live-action and anime though. Others had done the same. Most notably, Oshii had frequently dabbled in both anime and live action, but in Oshii's case, his live action work was obviously very similar to his anime work and often went hand in hand. However, Anno chose to make Love and Pop, a film that on the surface feels very different to his anime work, but on a closer inspection, it does have a lot of similarities. Love and Pop is a film about a group of schoolgirls that do subsidized dating. Basically, they're paid to go on dates with older men. The film was based on one of the shorts in Murakami's Tokyo Decadence novel, a writer known for depicting the darker side of Japanese culture. The film nicely uses early digital cameras to create a kinetic cinematography, and the camera moves a lot and traverses the scenes with awkward frames and unconventional positions, which is rather interesting. Despite Anno being an anime director, a medium where anything is possible because it's literally created from scratch, he experiments more with shots and composition in Love and Pop than he does in animation. That's not to say that Evangelion or other anime works he's done use standard frames, but it's more consistent than this. Just look at the way he chooses to shoot some of these scenes. This was the freedom of digital cameras at the time, and you saw many films utilise them in a similar way. The freedom of a smaller camera that could often be handheld compared to large film cameras was freeing for many filmmakers. Anno uses this disorientation to present the disarray of the adolescent characters, as the overarching theme seems to be about the loss of innocence, something that feels present in Evangelion as well. I said before that childlike wonder permeates his filmography. Well, here it seems to be about the downfall of the main character, Hiromi, as her childlike wonder for material possessions leads her down a rabbit hole of adult situations she's not yet prepared for. She believes she is ready for adulthood, but her innocence and wonder places her in situations she should not be in. Apparently Anno wrote Evangelion to reflect his depression, and that feels present here as well. The film feels littered with characters that are trying to escape their reality to some degree. The father throws himself into his train obsession, the various males she meets seem to all be unstable in some way, and the subsidized dating that they do seems to offer them an escape from their isolated reality. The females seem to want money to escape the trappings of youth, to have access to adult money and opportunities. The film is definitely unique, and it feels like both a departure and an extension to his already established filmography. After Love and Pop, Anno would direct Ritual, a film about a director who discovers a young girl who seems to be perpetually stuck in her past. The film is clearly about repressed trauma and how individuals can become stuck unless they confront the past. In the finale, she confronts her mother and reveals that she felt abandoned and alone growing up. Only then does time continue for the character. In many ways, it feels like a continuation until Love and Pop, this idea of fleeting innocence. However, Ritual is presented in a starkly different form. Gone is the free-flowing digital approach, now the cinematography is more subtle, yet the composition is beautiful. The overall result here feels more refined than Love and Pop, but thematically related. In my opinion, it's his best film. After Ritual, Anno would direct a live-action version of Cutie Honey. This was an old shonen series that had many incarnations throughout the years. Anno's 2004 adaptation was a somewhat reboot for the franchise, and it had an OVA follow-up afterwards. However, the film didn't do too well and was kind of a flop. Overall, the film really feels like a return to the Ultraman days for him, but with an even more overt comical tone. It's a stark contrast to his earlier live-action films, but it's a return to the tokusatsu genre that he began with. It's a fun film that feels like it must have been a lot of fun to make. The vibrant colours, cool special effects make it a really playful film that seems to embody a purer sense of childlike wonder. The protagonist literally embodies that sense of youthful, carefree delight that Anno seems to always present in some way, and while he often presents it in danger or under stress of being lost, here it is intact and allowed to flourish. Anno would take a break from live-action cinema for a while now, possibly because Cutie Honey flopped, I'm not too sure, but he wouldn't return to live-action cinema until Shin Godzilla. Where do I even begin with this film? The Godzilla franchise as a whole is so important to Japanese culture and art. Godzilla itself has become a symbol for Japan. Originally reflecting the war, Godzilla morphed from a representation of destruction into a hero and saviour of Japan. It's always interesting to see how it gets represented in America compared to Japan, but that's a discussion for another video. What's interesting about Shin Godzilla is what it does thematically with the franchise. You see, Godzilla had begun to move away from its original political ideas and just became a series more about kaiju fights and battles and destruction for just fun, cool scenes. But Shin Godzilla understands that the crux of the franchise is its ability to present ideas and anxieties in interesting ways. The film returns the franchise to this idea and uses it as a platform to critique the Japanese government for their handling of the Fukushima incident. Basically how they took too long to make decisions that needed making quickly. And as a result, the film has lots and lots of talking and barely any action, as that's what they feel the government did when handling the disaster of Fukushima. What is interesting about Shin Godzilla though is it sees Anno move away from a personal style of filmmaking for a more societal piece. Sure, Cutie Honey was not very personal either, but it seemed to capture the tone of what he enjoyed as a child. It felt like he was making a film for his younger self with that. Here, Shin Godzilla moves away from anything personal and seems to be a film about what Japan felt at the time. Maybe because he was working with Shinji Higuchi on this and it was not a solo production. I'm not entirely sure, however, with Higuchi now making Shin Ultraman and Anno making Shin Kamen Rider, I feel Godzilla has opened up doors for Anno that were possibly not available to him before. and I'm excited to see what he does as he begins to formulate a strong filmography of tokusatsu films. So in many ways, Cutie Honey and Shin Godzilla have pushed him towards a different style of filmmaking, and possibly the style we saw with Ritual, Love and Pop and those themes has been completed for him. Now we're seeing the beginning of him formulating new ideas in new genres. These are the live action films of Anno, and I feel like the pure magnitude of Evangelion often overshadows these films. But what I think is amazing is that they revealed just how talented Anno is, because no matter what the medium, Anno creates something that stays with you, and he has a clear direction and desire for the piece that feels confident in its execution. No matter what, you always feel like you're in safe hands with him. Even when he's experimenting in Love and Pop with the camera, you feel like it's in the hands of someone who knows what they're doing. And I think that's incredible, to move from animation to live action and still have that confidence. So I recommend checking out these films to understand this great filmmaker a little bit more. Or if you have already seen them, then let me know what you think in the comments below. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching, and thank you for all the kind things you always do on this channel, sharing and commenting and just being a great audience. I absolutely love making these videos for you, and I hope you're enjoying them too. Anyway, thanks for watching guys, and I will see you guys next time.